is Amani Haider. I am an author, artist, and advocate for women's health and safety based in Western Sydney. I'm recording this video on unceded Darug country, where I live, work, and raise 2 children. I want to acknowledge the interconnectedness of injustices everywhere and the ongoing trauma inflicted on Aboriginal people in Australia. I want to acknowledge the death of Charlene Warrior. She deserved so much better, and I extend my respect and condolences to her family. 34 women have lost their lives violently this year, according to Counting Dead Women Australia. I extend my deep condolences to their loved ones. Each death, like the epicenter of an earthquake, has an aftershock effect on the families and communities surrounding it. Last year, there were a total of 56. I remember laying down roses at a vigil at Hyde Park for them, remembering my own mother, Salwa Haider, who was murdered in 2015, a year in which 84 women lost their lives violently in Australia, according to the latest figures. The UN Secretary General has stated that global levels of violence against women have remained largely unchanged over the last decade. An estimated 1 in 3 women aged 15 years and older around the world have been subjected to physical or sexual violence by an intimate partner, non-partner, or both at least once in their lifetime. These numbers do not reflect the impact of COVID-19, which is believed to have exacerbated risk factors for violence against women, including unemployment and poverty. Whilst death is the most severe and permanent consequence of violence against women, it is not the only consequence. Many women survive abuse and attempted homicide but go on to live with complex mental and physical injuries, including complex PTSD, brain injury, and other physical disabilities. This year's 16 Days of Activism campaign calls for inclusive, comprehensive, and long-term strategies and resources to eliminate violence against women. There are things we can change as a society that make the journey from victimization to recovery easier for victim survivors. These include making childcare affordable and accessible so that women are able to easily seek support, housing, employment, and legal advice after escaping violence. In fact, why not make it universal, allowing women to more fully participate in education and the workplace? This is entirely achievable for a wealthy nation like ours. We can establish and fund specialised trauma centres for victims and survivors so that they can heal in safe spaces, tailor-made to their needs. We can also say no to offshore processing for refugees who have escaped violence and trauma, only to re-experience it in detention centres. We can better recognise the intersection of issues that victim survivors navigate and account for the fact that healing from abuse is particularly difficult if you've experienced racism, language and cultural barriers, disability, or discrimination because of your sexuality or gender identity. Empowerment and justice look like different things for different people, and every victim survivor deserves access to appropriate care and support. We can make our welfare system fairer and easier to navigate. I've written and spoken in the past about how I lost my eligibility for paid parental leave because I took time off work after losing my mum. And that time that I took off work put me outside of the work test used by Centrelink to test eligibility for paid parental leave. Even though I was able to advocate for a fair outcome for myself, the law remained unchanged until September 2021, when the exemptions to the work test were finally broadened to include domestic violence. Whilst reforms such as this can come from lived experience advocacy and storytelling, being able to tell one's story and influence change comes with significant challenges. Healing is a lifelong journey. Despite having engaged in counselling in the past, and despite the privileges I've had in terms of accessing support, I still feel the effects of my trauma. The first thing I did after I finished editing the manuscript for my book earlier this year was attend one of the retreats hosted by Hope and Heal. There, I witnessed the heavy and difficult work that goes into healing, and my short time there was empowering and transformational. I would love to see these opportunities for long-term healing extended to all victim survivors, so that we are able to grow around our experiences and live fuller, more joyful lives. By providing comprehensive and long-term care in these ways and facilitating opportunities for recovery, we create a society in which support and sympathy for victims doesn't end when the news dies down or when the legal system has followed its course. What could be more radical and empowering for victim survivors than knowing that society stands with them and that they will be given every opportunity to flourish?